And the big story of the week just keeps getting bigger. That means it is time for the Fast 4 Minutes in TV news. The Fox 4 with Ben Ferguson. Ben is on WBAP News Talk Radio 820. Hello, how are you?
And I finally get to hang out with you. This is wonderful.
See, this only happens when Eager leaves town or goes away or something. Then you're stuck with me, Ben, but we appreciate it.
I love it. Let's go.
All right, so the McKinney teen takedown story, it's been going on, like almost a week now, but the new information today is what the officer did before going to the Craig Ranch pool. So listen to his attorney, who says those calls that he went on before, they had a direct impact on his actions.
The video that everyone has seen only depicts a small part of Eric's actions that day. Eric was assigned the evening shift that day and began working at 6 p.m. His first call was a suicide at an apartment complex where an African-American male had shot himself in the head at a poolside in the apartment complex. The male had done so in the presence of his family, his children, other parents, and children. Eric also spent a considerable amount of time consoling the man's grieving widow. Immediately thereafter, he responded to a second suicide call. This one was involving a teenage girl who was threatening to commit suicide by jumping off of her parents' roof. Eric assisted by calming the girl enough so that she could be transported safely to the hospital. When the Craig Ranch neighborhood incident came over the radio, Eric Casebolt was reluctant to respond to a simple trespassing call, given what he had just been through. He was content to let the other officers handle this call. However, once the call was escalated and responded to possible violent assaults, he felt and believed it was his duty to respond. With all that had happened that day, he allowed his emotions to get the better of him. Eric regrets that his conduct portrayed him in his department in a negative light. He never intended to mistreat anyone, but was only reacting to a situation and the challenges that it presented.
And Ben, our 4 minutes begin right now. So listen, this attorney, she almost sounds like she's kind of setting up a sort of a bad day defense. It's all because of a bad day.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of police officers. This is the world that they go into. And whether it be a police officer or a paramedic or a surgeon, their bad days are a lot worse than other people. And I can't imagine what it would be like to walk in a room and see where someone had shot themselves in the head to commit suicide in front of their families and deal with that. I can't imagine what it would be like to know that if you can't get this person off the roof, they may commit suicide. And for those two calls to be back to back, and I have no reason to believe that this isn't telling the entire truth, to then come into another situation, most people would have just not responded and tapped out. It's obvious he had a bad day. It's obvious that he lost his cool. And I think this is the untold hero part of what the police do every day. Is it excuse his actions? I think many are going to say no, but I also think this is where we should be understanding, a little bit compassionate. And I have no reason to believe that this isn't what happened to him that day. And imagine going through that and then be put in this situation. People have bad days and they ask for forgiveness. And I hope that the community will forgive him and allow him to move on with his life, because his life right now, it's flat out ruined, and he will probably never wear a badge again.
Well, it doesn't seem that people are being forgiving if he's getting death threats. But aren't police, Ben, I mean, they're trained to handle this, and this guy also has a military background. So you'd think that
sure,
either A, he knows how to do
humans.
It. He knows how, yes, you're right, humans, but A, he would know how to do it, or B, he would say, you know what, I'm out. I know that I can't handle this right now.
Well, and it may be that he can handle the day in and day out, but on a day like this, he was pushed over the edge. I mean, you look at the #1 killer of American troops. What is it? It's suicide in this country. It's more people are committing suicide who've served in Iraq and Afghanistan after they come back from battle. You look at this, and this is a very stressful job, and this obviously, I think, played a role in his decisions that day. And I want to make it clear, I'm not saying that that's an excuse. I think it was the right thing for him to do to resign, but I also think that we need to remember, There are two sides to this day. There are two sides to this story. And this man's life is now ruined in the capacity as a police officer. And for him to get death threats, he lost his job. He's in hiding right now. And I think we should all look at this and say, you know what? If this was my day and I had to walk into that room and I had to console a family of someone that killed themselves, and then after seeing that dead body, someone who was successful in committing suicide, going immediately to another call where you're trying to get someone to not kill themselves, and then you come to this situation, a lot of people would not do as well as they may want to do or may think that they would do in that situation.
I get that, and I'm so thankful to all those officers who can handle that, because I know I couldn't, and that's why I'm sitting here behind this desk and letting those heroes go out
Sure.
and do what they do. So let's switch it for a second. Let's talk about this teenager, because she's kind of hiding out a bit. Her lawyer says she's the most well-known teen in McKinney right now, probably well-known much beyond the boundaries of McKinney. Can't eat, she can't sleep, she's having difficulties herself. Your take on that?
Look, I'm going to take them at their word. I mean, I know that this is part of the legal process. I know she obviously is very upset about what happened, and they're going to make sure that they can do everything they can to possibly get charges that are going to be pressed against this police officer. And so that narrative is going to be put out there. I hope that she is okay, and I hope that she moves on from this. And I hope that their family has surrounded her and said, you know, this is not typical, and you don't have to be terrified that this may happen again to you. This was a tragic event for her, no doubt about it. The same way it was tragic for the two men that had to run away when he pulled his gun that came up behind that police officer. And this is where I hope that we all look at this from a community standpoint and say, where do we draw the line? Where is enough when it comes to me being right and that person being wrong and vice versa? And where is it where justice is truly being served? He did resign quickly. The police reprimanded him quickly. The McKinney officers, I have no doubt they're going to be retrained. And honestly, everybody in the Metroplex is going to look at this and be probably retrained on how to deal with these situations. There's a lot of good that can come out of this. I hope we just don't get focused or obsessed with, I want this guy in jail.
Sure. All right, let me ask you this kind of to wrap it up. You know, since Igor's been off, I've been listening to the Viewer's Voice phone calls because I've got to do that for him on Friday. A lot of people are blaming the media for this. I'm hearing that over and over again. You are stirring the pot. So how does it feel, Ben? You're stirring the pot.
I think there's a difference between stirring the pot and having a real conversation about this, and there's two different things. Throwing out that this is all racism at the beginning, as some people have done, I think that's stirring the pot. Looking at the facts of the day, looking at the fact that the fight that happened earlier, one of the ladies involved has a roommate that's African American for what, almost 10 years. I mean, when you look at those facts, if there's anything that I hope comes out of this, we all look at this and say there's a real conversation to have about this, but sometimes just seeing 30 seconds or 3 minutes of what happened on camera isn't exactly the full picture of what went on before and or afterwards.
Got it. All right, Ben, I think we're out of time. Someone's telling me we're hitting about 4 minutes. So that's it. I appreciate you tonight. Thank you. Igor will be back.
It's fun playing with you tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. He'll be back, though, for you next week. And you can listen to Ben every weekday morning on 8:20 a.m. WBAP. Ben Ferguson Show.
Thank you, guys.
9
Thanks
to
for
11.
having me.
Follow Ben on Twitter. He's at Ben Ferguson Show. Thank you, Ben.